always a life journey.
Good afternoon. Today is an exciting day to be a Georgia Bulldog. Thank you all for being here today. First of all, I want to thank our staff who helped in the search in this process. Stephanie Ransom, Will Lawler, Maggie El-Shahawi, Doris Griffin, and Ford Williams. Also want to thank President Moorhead for his steadfast leadership through this process. Obviously coaching changes are never easy, but we're excited about where we're headed. You know, I said day one when I got this job that we want to win championships in all 21 sports. And as you saw, the Learfield Cup rankings came out today, the updated rankings, and we're currently 5th, projected to finish 8th, which is going to be one of the better finishes we've had in a while, since 2018, and I believe a second top 8 finish in the last 20 years or so.
17 years.
Yeah, 17 years. So this is part of that build, and we want to be good in every sport we have, and we think we have found the leader to take us to the next level in baseball. You know, during our search for our next coach, there were some fundamental things we were looking for. Someone who could help us with player development, someone who had a history of success, and what I really like about Coach Wes is success at many levels. You know, high school, small college, big college, pros, on and on. Someone who could recruit at a high level. Someone who's a leader of young men. Overall, a great person, and someone ultimately who I would want my kids to play for. Someone I want my kids, my sons, to say that's a guy that I'd send my kids to college to play for. Coach Johnson has mentored more than 30 Major League Baseball draft picks. His current ace, Paul Skeens, is National Pitcher of the Year, and with all anticipation, we expect him to be one of the top picks in this year's draft. He's competed again, as I said, won championships at every single level he's been. Every team he's been associated with has been a championship caliber team. Pitching coach for the Twins, he helped lead them to win their division each of his first 2 years there. Currently, the 5th ranked LSU team has made the World Series for the first time since 2017. He's had tremendous success in this league, again, which is important, success understanding the SEC. He had stints at both Arkansas and Mississippi State. During his time at Mississippi State, leading them from worst to first in his first year, reaching a super regional. Also leading Arkansas to the World Series in 2018. As I did my research, when you start this process, you go through a very extensive process of researching names and vetting people and looking at resumes. His name kept coming up. And I always love it when you speak to other coaches or you speak to administrators and they keep bringing the same name up, and you can't find anyone that has a single bad word to say about someone, and they describe him as a coach's coach, as a player's coach, someone who will push players, but someone our players will love. And that got me more and more excited as I did more and more research on Coach. We as a university and athletic department are committed to reaching new levels with baseball at the University of Georgia. And we've made a commitment, as you know, a $45 million renovation of Foley Field that we've recently begun the work on. It's going to be an 18-month project, but it's already begun. We're excited. And I think with that and our commitment to NIL and helping grow that as well, I think the future of Georgia baseball is extremely bright. And I'm excited today, here with his wife, Angie, and his daughter, Ava. It's my pleasure to introduce thy cousin's head baseball coach at the University of Georgia, Wes Johnson. Coach.
My hat guy.
There you go.
Here, grab my notebook back. Well, guys, I'm very excited to be here, obviously, to take over a program that, in my mind, is fixing to be the best place in college baseball and football. I wouldn't be here today without my wife and my family. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank President Moorhead and our Director of Athletics, Josh Brooks, for giving me this opportunity. And then I also have to thank Scott Woodward and Jay Johnson at LSU for being patient during this time. It's a transition. We're trying to win a national title there. We're in Omaha. We're in a good spot. But that's something I want to do here as well. So with that, I'll open up for some questions.
We've got a couple of mic holders, so just raise your hand and get a mic over to you.
Coach, obviously, like I said, you're getting ready to help LSU go to the World Series. I'm assuming you've done a lot of multitasking since you've, the name head coach. Can you kind of give an example of how that's been going? Kind of what your average day been like since you took over the head coach's job here?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how it's been. I wake up really early. I go to bed really late, and I drink a lot of caffeine in the middle. But actually, what happened? I actually sat down and wrote out my days how they need to, because I still, like I said, I'm trying to lead those young men to a national title. And so I wake up. First thing I would do was from roughly about 5 to 8. I was doing all LSU game prep, getting ready, getting our day ready, breaking down film of other teams and so forth. And then I would take that window from roughly 8 to noon, and I was calling a lot of our players. That was my first priority. Was I wanted to touch all of them. I wanted to get in there and talk to all of them, and that takes time. Those phone conversations aren't easy, or they're not quick. Those things were lasting a good 30 minutes. I want them asking me questions. I want to get to know them, and then we would start practice again. I have to start prepping for our practice till about 4, and then you're coming back home and you're back on the phone again and then you're looking at rosters, and then you're looking at recruits, and you go to bed at midnight and get them to do it again, and that's just the way it is. And so, yeah.
Coach, congratulations on the appointment. Can you let us know, do you have any ties to the Georgia area, and what's kind of your philosophy on recruiting, and do you feel pretty confident about that piece of the job?
Here's a fun fact: I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, so know the area well. Know a lot of the coaches. Obviously, coached and recruited for a long time. If you're going to be any good, you come to the state of Georgia. They got phenomenal baseball players here, and so yeah, you've developed a lot of relationships with coaches here over the years, just because, like I said, they have such good baseball here in the state. I've recruited a lot of players out of Georgia. I'm coaching one right now is going to be a first rounder at LSU, right outside of Atlanta, Ty Floyd, and yeah, a lot of ties and connections here. We will enhance those even more.
Coach, congratulations on getting hired. Josh talked about the commitment the university has for the baseball program. Did you need some convincing on that, and what kind of things did you hear during the interview process that made you want to come here?
Good question. A lot of things I think about when I come here is because you're in this state so much recruiting. You look around, you go, this is, you look at per capita, in my opinion, and I think you could get probably all 14 coaches, head coaches in the league to say that Georgia's the best state for baseball. So that was a big draw. I think the facilities now are phenomenal, but what we're doing, what Josh is doing with the 40, it will become the best place to play this game at this level. With the commitment not only they made to the facilities, but with the technology that we're going to be able to bring in and implement. I'm huge on development. They're behind that. That's what they were looking for. I tell people all the time, you got to be careful to generic programming, generic development. Players will get lost. You'll just lose them. And so when I heard the fact that we're doing the $45 million upgrade and we want the technology, I mean, it was a perfect match right there.
Obviously, you've got an interesting, unique background, having coached at both the collegiate and professional levels. How have you seen that experience with the Twins help you this year, and how do you think that'll help you going forward as a head coach?
Yeah, I think it's a thing I would tell people. I'm ready now. I had some opportunities, obviously, some smaller places over the years, and you get to the big leagues, and the game is so fast, and you understand like how hard it is to maintain the level that those guys are at. And then as I went through there and was running the defensive side of the ball, so to speak, the pitching, running the bullpen, winning back-to-back Central titles, obviously, and making it to the playoffs. The knowledge I gained from that, I don't think you might learn in 10 years, doing what I'm doing right now. And I was fortunate to get 3.5.
Coach, there was a bit of a photo going around on Twitter of after you told the team that you were heading here that they came around and hugged you. You've also talked about how important having a tight locker room is. How do you plan on kind of interjecting that culture here once you arrive?
I'll give you a short answer, or we might not get out of here in time, but the short answer is this. You know, when you bring guys together and you paint the vision, you know, the first step you got to have is you got to think you can do it. Then you got to believe, then you got to go get it, right? So one of the ways that I think that we do that is through our individual development plans. When everybody knows that we have a plan specific for each guy, and that we're working to get each guy better, not just this massive group of whatever, where one size may try to fit all and it fits really only half the team. And then when we're having that individual relationship, and then you're teaching this, you know, I've said this, there's one thing that the team who wins the national title will do more than anybody else this year, and that'll be high five each other, right? So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it with consistency. We're going to do it with showing up and everybody knowing every single day that everybody's trying to get better. When we get in that locker room, the goals start to come together. And just like I told them, we're going to high five more than anybody next year. That's our plan.
Coach, I know, filling out your staff is probably one of the foremost things on your mind right now. Kind of what are you looking for as far as the event you want to bring in here to do that? And I'm assuming you're going to be your own pitching coach for the team next year.
Correct. I will do the pitching. I'll start with that one. I'll do the pitching. You know, we're going to get an offensive guy. You know, I'm currently in that process right now. I think our ballpark is very unique in the best way. It has the ability, obviously, hitting the ball to right field. You can run a lot of balls out of the yard at Yankee Stadium, right? They got short right field. It's got a short right field, but it also can play to speed. When you look at the gaps you got in left center and just a big center field. So I'm looking for a guy who obviously can not only, it's easy, there's a lot of things now with launch angle and different things of that nature in the homer, but we're going to be able to score runs a lot of different ways. You can't beat Paul Skeens by hitting homers. You're going to have to get guys on, you're going to have to steal bases, you got to put the ball on the carpet, you're going to have to get them over and get them in, and we're going to do that as well.
You mentioned launch angle and the data. That seems to be what you're most known for. What is it about analytics and data and all those numbers that intrigues you so much, and how do you apply that player to player?
Yeah, we're in a day and age, we can talk about generations and different things, but players today, when you make a change, you better be 100% objective. They got this cool thing called an iPhone, and there's this cool thing called Google, and they can look it up and see if you're right or wrong. And so when I talk to, as I've talked to all our players and told them when I first met with them, when we make changes, it's going to be objective. It's not going to be subjective. It's not going to be my eye just doesn't like the way your swing looks. If it's working, we're going to go with it. We're going to enhance that process. And so that's what data does for you. Data also helps you build that relationship with that player. When you make that objective change and they see that they've got a better result, the buy-in becomes higher. And there's a lot of people that say, you want to get better at something, you better measure it. We're going to be measuring a lot.
Coach, you talked about how important your family was in making that call from heading from the Twins to LSU and how they were ready to get down to Baton Rouge. How important were they for making this decision and making the call to come to Athens? Yeah, very important. I've been a guy who's just tries to put my head down and go to work, and the phone rings, and so forth. But extremely important, right? I mean, that's your support. People will tell you I can only really do one thing, and that's coach baseball. I'm bad at a lot of stuff around our house. So, but I can coach baseball. I can cook a little bit. I can grill a little bit, but that's about it. So yeah, my family was extremely important. When it came down to it.
Hey, Coach, you sort of harkened on this earlier. Georgia is a baseball-rich state for aspiring players. Over the years, there's a lot of players that have felt that, the University of Georgia was maybe not within their reach and they couldn't break the door down. What might be your words to any players in this state and, bordering that might aspire to come here because you're here now? What do they need to do? That'll hit a little bit to my recruiting, right? I mean, it's like, you look, talent's there, right? There's so many services out now and everybody's got, we can look up and find out who's throwing 90 miles an hour and
and, you know, hitting this or doing this, at the end of the day too, then it's going to come down to this. Hey, are you going to be so invested in the University of Georgia and the University of Georgia baseball program that when you put that G on, you're ready to go? You're ready to do things that you may never thought you could do before, but when you look back, you're going to go, wow, that was actually enjoyable, but maybe it was hard. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who, when they put it on, they're ready to go. They know that they're not only representing themselves, but the university and a great baseball program that we're going to do some things that haven't been done here in a while. And if they can do that and do it and know that at the end of the day, they're so bought in, like I say, they're doing things that most people look at, man, you guys are pushing sleds, ain't no way I do that. Oh no, I actually enjoy it. That's what I'm looking for.
A couple more recruiting related questions. First, as far as the improved facilities, the pitching lab, everything that's being built, how much is that going to help your job as a recruiter, your assistant's job, and also transfer portals? Obviously, he was saying, how active do you anticipate being involved in that?
I'll start with the portal first. I mean, I don't think you can be, unfortunately, the way the game is going, not only in our sport, but in all sports, you're going to have to be active in the portal. It just is what it is. I'm more so on that side of things. But when you look at recruiting, anytime facilities are improved, it should help. But at the end of the day, we should be selling a product, and we are selling a product that shows that we're not only developing them on the baseball field, and we're going to do it better than anybody in the country, but we're developing them as men, as student athletes. They're going to walk out of here with a degree, and they're going to be, whether, you know, if they get the chance to play professional baseball, outstanding. But if they don't, they're walking out here with a degree that's got Georgia on it, and that's going to open up a lot of doors for them. And so it's, when you look at recruiting in every aspect from facilities, yes, they're all there, and we'll have them all now. But at the end of the day, you still have to let them know how you're going to develop them and turn them into a better baseball player and a better man.
Obviously, a lot of people have TrackMan technology. If you could point, I guess ask you to sell yourself here a little bit. You've had an incredible record with pitchers in producing early round selections. So if you could put your finger on, if you're explaining to somebody, what has been your knack for doing that? What are you able to do to make that happen?
I'll tell you what people think. Maybe I should say that. Velocity. I've increased players' velocity on the mound. That track record's out there, and you can obviously look that up and see. But that's what probably, and TrackMan's a big part of that. You know, force play mounds and so forth. There's a lot of technology we use, but at the end of the day, it comes down to everybody's going to say velocity.
What's your impressions of the roster you're taking over from going up against Georgia at the end of the season? And have you had a chance to have a conversation with Charlie Condon? What kind of building block is he?
Well, I've had a couple conversations with Charlie. Guys could be the best right-handed hitter in college baseball next year. Not that he's not one of them this year. Yeah, I've had, obviously I'll start with Charlie on that and work backwards. But yeah, Charlie, he's doing great. He's in the Cape right now. As everybody obviously already knows, he's up for Team USA, and he'll go out there and hopefully have a good showing and represent our country. But the roster, you know, everybody in the SEC's got talent on rosters. Doesn't matter where you finish or who you are. Everybody's got talent. We've got talent here. We need, you know, we're working some things and working through the roster right now. But yeah, we have some. We got some guys. You know, the draft's going to be a concern. We'll see how that plays out. It's an imperfect science. It's really hard to, you know, young men come up with numbers and so forth of what it's going to take. And you talk to teams one day and they're nowhere near, and then the next day, oh, they're. So we'll get through that. You know, the draft this year is obviously a little later, starts July 9th. But yeah, the roster right now it's in good shape. It's fine.
Coach, you talked about the state of Georgia as being talent rich, and you've lived in a few different SEC towns, but what about Athens outside the University of Georgia may have helped sell you to move your family here?
I've been on record working at other universities, so that this is not just because I'm in this room. I've said this is the best campus in the SEC. I've been to them all. I've said it's the best campus in the SEC, it checks every box from you're here, student experience, obviously degrees, the university, but student experience, facilities, everything, and it's only getting better. So there's a lot of things that draw you to this town.
Coach, I know before the season you were talking to a few people saying you just said Athens one of the best campuses. You were also saying LSU is one of the best programs. What did you learn over your time with Rocco and with Jay that you think you can take this program to be one of the best, to match that one of the best campuses in the country?
I could talk about Rocco for you've asked a couple questions that we could be in here a long time. Rocco's like a brother to me. We still talk and communicate at times and text and so forth. And so, I don't even know where to start with what I learned from Rocco. That list is so long. I think the biggest thing, I'll tell you this. If I had to narrow down one thing that I think I'll always take away from Rocco is his ability to understand hard losses and how to react to them. We were in a pennant race in 19, to give you an example, and we had a tough one. I don't want to go through the whole situation. And this guy went into that locker room and touched every guy. And got him going. And we turned it around. I could tell a lot of stories about that, but just the ability how to handle tough losses and the ability to go in and get guys back up, because everybody thinks, you see these guys on TV and they're robots and they're superhuman. And man, they're human beings, man. They got a mind, they got a brain. They deal with stuff just like everybody else. Just because they're making millions of dollars doesn't mean that they're not. And so I would say that the relationship side that Rocco has with every player in his locker room is something that I'll take away and do it. And he's been successful, extremely successful. Manager of the year. Come on, this guy's a rock star. Jay's recruiting aspect from the head coaching position is like nobody I've ever seen. And I've worked with obviously a couple of head coaches in our league as fellow colleagues, and then turned into head coaches in this league. And so learning the process of how Jay balances the recruiting and practice, so to speak, or player development is something that I'll take away from you.
Got time for a couple more questions?
Just real quick, I'm interested in the logistics. I mean, obviously you had to get over here today. You'll have to get back. How has all that happened? How have the last couple of days been from what you had to leave behind, what you're having to do here, and when you'll go back?
I think I'm going to go back to professional baseball. It's kind of like when you play Seattle on Sunday night baseball, and you got to get on, and you're on the West Coast, and you got to fly back to Minnesota, and you got a 6:30 one Monday night. So you just get used to it. Yeah, the logistics. We obviously won Sunday night. That was fun, special. Anytime you do that, it's hard. People don't realize, they just think it's a given. It's hard. We won yesterday. We had to rally up and get obviously our logistics for the week. I was able to still had wanted to get back talk to Charlie again, talk to some other players again. Then got here. We'll fly back tonight. I got a bullpen in the morning with Paul Skeens at 8, and we leave for Omaha at 10. And then I'll be on the horn once we finish practice tomorrow, 3 o'clock.
Coach, you touched on how highly you think of the SEC in general and how you think this is one of the league just below the majors. I wanted to ask, how important was it for you to take a job in the SEC, and then why this program specifically?
I think it's with anybody, right? You want to be at the highest level you can be at and have that chance to be as successful as possible at that level. And, you think about, I think just a lot about how fast-paced this is, and that's the way it should be. I don't think it's a marathon. I just think it's a sprint that doesn't have a finish line. You got to wake up and sprint every day. And that's something I like to do. That's, my wife can really speak to it. I mean, you're just used to it. Not that other leagues you don't have to sprint in. I don't mean it like that, but that's just the way I'm wired. And so I enjoy it, and I want to be around the best players. And I think this league is that. I think you learn more You know, I've been fond of saying I probably learned more from players in the big leagues than they learned from me, just seeing how they've reacted. I've learned more from Paul Skeens than he's probably learned from me. You get around great people and great players, you're going to learn a lot, or you should be learning a lot, in my opinion. And so I don't ever want to lose that. I want to constantly be learning. I think that this place is, you know, as I've already spoke to, I mean, with what Josh is doing with facilities and what's already in place, we will make this the best place to play college baseball.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks again, everybody, for coming.